Okay, so this is the base using pressure treated 4x4s to run this pathway. Hopefully more of a curve. So I'm just using straight pieces of 4x4, and then I'm going to deck over it with 5/4. So the nominal range is 6, but it's 5.5. 5/4 decking board, all pressure treated. So I lined out 3 main posts that this deck will lay over for this wooden walkway, and then staked them each into the ground. If you can see there, with wooden stakes, you can get a 12-pack of those. Drive in a screw, and then I alternated the locations of the stakes. Same thing with the horizontal or the vertical member, and then again out here. Over here is a little more difficult because there's some irrigation pipes, so I used a just a small cuts to it, and you can sort of see I buried it now. There's a cut right there that extends the whole length, so it's about 5 inches. Hit this button here. There we go. And that way I could hide the pipes as well as the walkway. So this is existing. I chipped this down with my little Harbor Freight chisel and another chisel, just cold chisel, and got it close. You know, you can really spend a long time with this. So instead of doing that, I took the board and I ripped it down. This is the first board. You can see, rip that edge down on the table saw, and you don't have to do that, and you could probably chisel it off from the behind, but I need this first one to be absolutely correct, and that's what took probably the longest for the plane to go over. Can't wait till drones come, and we hear that stuff all the time, right? Oh god. Anyway, so extend this out to approximately 4 feet. It's a 3-foot door, 4 foot. Notch this section out so that it all will slide in. I ended up cutting this piece first, this board, then coming through and setting the height thereafter with this, and then moving on to here, and then finally moving on to the last board. And then the last pieces were these connectors, just so you don't have that springiness when you're stepping off the last couple courses. I'm going to use a camo tool to put these planks together, this decking together. And I'd say the biggest lesson learned, well, the thing that took longest and I didn't anticipate, which I normally don't, is the dirt work. So initially I dug all this out, just sort of eyeballed them, these slots. But of course I dug it too deep. Then you got to come back and backfill and set it correctly. If I was doing this again, I should have, the night before, taken these measurements and known, you know, of this 4x4, 3.5 inches, 3.25, whatever, and then this 5/4 inch and a half. Set that so I knew a rough height or depth to dig the bottom of these 4x4s, and that way I wasn't digging so much out, only to fill back in. So it took all morning, I'd say, and all day. So it's 3 o'clock now. I started at 9 o'clock, so in the morning, to move all the wood around the house, dig it, and get it completely level with each other. There's actually a little bit of a pitch. It's pitch down, so the water runs, if any water runs, down this way, and then pitched over as well, so it goes continues to roll off the edge. The 4x4s are easy enough to cut with a couple tools, so my little Harbor Freight chop saw, and then I brought out the table saw because like I said, of that angled bevel cut that I did to notch off the first piece of this course over here. So then I'll just proceed out, and I'm going to leave these long, and then I'll come out and I'll trim them with a slight, my idea is to have a slight curve, you know, because I don't want it like a triangle like this. I want it sort of a more gentle curve. So the pieces here will be just a little bit flared as it dives back into that 4-foot section. So that way people coming across don't feel like they have to, do a right angle by any means, and it's a little more pleasing. So at the end I'll take I have a piece of conduit, just a piece of pipe, 1/2-inch pipe, or any sort of thin material, and bend it, put a nail on either end, and bend it, strike it, and then use my jigsaw and cut it off. So that's the next step. But this is the base. The base takes about a day, and anticipate the decking will take a half a day. And then of course you have all the cleanup. So imagine the rest of the whole day, the rest of half of the day, I should say, to clean up tools and dirt and edging properly, and then leave it set for a couple months to season before staining it if you want to. And then of course weird things like massive amounts of twigs and sticks that are in there. If you were to do this again, like I said, the dirt work, measure down, but probably maybe the easier thing would have been is dig this whole thing out to one level, because then you're not dealing with these trenches that I was trying to kneel in and kneel out of. It would have been best just to take it all the way down, dig it all out, get a wheelbarrow or tarp on the ground and throw everything out. So just set it, because I spent a lot of time today, I think too much time, futzing with this height and setting these properly, hammering them in, leveling it off. Of course, if I had everything straight, just like if you're doing pavers, it's best to have your base completely the way you want it, and then you're just setting pavers. So I'd say that's a lesson learned from here. Spend that extra effort with the dirt work if you've never done this before, and I'll know for next time I'm going to build the same sort of project. Instead of through a mulch path, I'm going to build it for our trash cans on the side of the house, because they're right now I set them on an old door outside as a platform so they don't sink into the mud. Since this is Florida and it gets a lot of rain, build a little platform just like this, but it'll be rectangular. So I'll take the lessons learned here, dig everything flat, and then start building the base. All right. Okay, so here is the decking installed before I make the finish cuts, and this is that curve cut I was talking about doing. So using the camo tool, everything works great. This is probably the 4th deck I've used this on. I mean, this is more like a little walkway than a deck, but basically the same. Just use the tool as instructed. I found it's also beneficial to, when you screw in the first, say, section, you can obviously tilt the other sides of the board. So don't necessarily move left to right if you find that you might get like a hockey stick. So I start in the middle, and then I move to this side, and then I move to that side, or vice versa. Also, it's important to make sure the decking isn't cupped one way, so it's not cupped up, but more the grains sort of go down. You can look at the end grain and see that pretty easily. Also, when you just look down the board length, you'll see if there's a bend to it. But typically if I see rings that are like cupped up like this, that's the face of the board. If the rings are cupped the other way, concave, then I turn that down, so I don't get any standing water there later. And for the little zhuzh here, I'm doing instead of a straight cut, I wanted to do a curve cut. So I just had an old piece of like cabinet fascia baseboard. I don't know, it's probably 6 inches by 1/4 inch, but you can use lots of things. Any sort of little molding that'll bend to your angle will work. I just ended up using screws from the box just to hold it, and I wanted to end at the 8-foot section, so I used that basically as a guide, and then ran it all the way down to the 4-foot section. Since this door is 3 feet, this first run is 4 feet. So I just kind of start there, put another backer pin or screw over here, you know, just screwing in between the deck boards. And then another one, obviously, there. And it ends, you know, I'll draw my line, and then I can use my jigsaw or router if you want to use that with a round over bit, and cut this edge. And that way the door opens up completely, but yet, you know, I don't want it to hit like mulch right away and stop the door, in case mulch sometimes would push over. And lastly, I'll put some edging here. After I do both sides, I got some flexible edging you stake into the ground. It looks a lot like this, actually. It's just made of recycled plastic. You can get metal too. And then lastly, I'll fill in this little section here. I had to excavate a little bit more. You know, it's always like that with your last row. If you're butting up against grass, just to take out that line, take out that amount of dirt. So I'll backfill that a little bit just to clean it up. But those are my, I say, lessons learned. Camo tool, don't force it. And make sure you're looking at your cupping, if it's up or down for the face of the board. And then find something, if you want to use as a little curvy jig. In this case, it'll be like a convex shape, and hopefully it turns out well. We'll see in a minute.